Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Backmarkers F1 show. This is our 2022 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix qualifying livestream watch-along. I'm your host, Chris Cato from Backmarkers F1 show podcast. I'm going to be joined by my fellow co-host, Shaker Barty, in just a few minutes' time. We are, of course, getting set for qualifying out the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Qualifying is about to start in a little over half an hour time here. It is currently 12:31 p.m. Eastern Time, and qualifying will begin right at the top of the hour, 1 p.m. start time here for us in Ottawa, Canada. So thank you, everybody who has joined us so far. Of course, we're going to give it a few more minutes. I think people are going to start to come in a little bit more closer to the time of qualifying, so no problems there. But basically what we're going to do over the next little half an hour or so is we're going to preview qualifying. We're going to take a look at the FP3 times, at free practice 3 just ending not too long ago, a little over 2 hours. And then we're going to make our predictions as to who some of the favorites are going into the qualifying session. So it should be a pretty good qualifying session. I mean, this track is obviously the second highest speed track on the calendar next to Monza. So very, very quick, a lot of very fast corners. Now, just quickly before we get into the FP3 times, if you guys didn't watch our A to Z guide for this Grand Prix, it is important to know that the track has been altered, not dramatically, but most of the corners have been changed in terms of the barriers. So what they've done is they've moved the barriers just slightly back a little bit, just not necessarily back, but they've opened up the barriers so that drivers can have much better sight lines going into some of these really fast speed corners, which I think is going to be an issue in qualifying with slow cars and drivers trying to build gaps. So that is a very important change. So I just see Shaker is logging in right now to Zoom, so we'll bring him in, and then we'll get right into the FP3 times. And also, guys, if you are in the chat, or if you are watching, of course, chat room is wide open. We do have a tab open separately just for the chat, so we will be monitoring it, and hopefully we'll be able to get to your questions or predictions or anything like that. So let me just change that there. So yeah, so Shaker just logging on here, trying to connect to the audio. So yeah, that was really one of the most important things I wanted to just put out there about the differences with the track this year to last year, because obviously we know last year there was some pretty significant concerns from the drivers, and quite frankly, they still remain even today, because even with the changes, this is still a pretty dangerous track with the high speed. So let me just see, Shaker, do you hear me on your end?
Yeah, I hear you. What's up?
There you go. Perfect. All right, welcome on, man. How you doing?
Good, good. Sorry, I just got to change my name around in the Zoom meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Zoom meeting. That's like my job title and stuff in it. I got to get rid of that.
Oh, did it say grip key? I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, well, yeah, while you do that, I was just going to wrap up just some of the track changes there for this circuit, and also turn 27. So the final corner has been widened this year. So they basically took out a grandstand that was there last year, and they made it wider. So I guess you could call it the Verstappen effect from what happened last year when he crashed in what would have been a really mega qualifying lap. But they've made it wider, so drivers have a little bit more room now to kind of break a little bit deeper and also run a little bit wide. So what do you think, Shaker? Early thoughts here before we get into the free practice 3 times. I guess maybe we can start off with that just because we'll go from that then into our predictions. So you had Charles Leclerc, who topped the timings of FP3 and also FP2 as well. But very close at the top here when you look at the gaps. You have between first and third really less than a tenth of a second separating them. So that'd be nice to see once we get to qualifying. Oh, I think you're muted.
I was just saying, Chris, I think this is going to be a huge, fight between Ferrari and Red Bull again. But I think Ferrari definitely look like they're going to be the ones around the corners that are going to get the most speed.
They look...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they look a little bit better than I thought they would, but I think in FP3, Max had abandoned one of his soft tire runs, so maybe there's a little bit more performance there, but I know Leclerc hit the wall in FP2, but it didn't seem like it affected him too much for the morning session today. So getting down then to the further end of the grid, so you had Sainz down in 4th place. I'll tell you what, one of the drivers who's continuing to impress me from Bahrain, I know we talked about this in our recap podcast from the Bahrain Grand Prix, it's Valtteri Bottas, who at one point later in the session put his Alfa Romeo in P2, and then of course some of the big runners such as the Ferraris and the Red Bulls went out on a very late run. But regardless, Bottas sitting in P5 for FP3, so I don't know if he'll be able to continue that into qualifying, but I'm on the Bottas hype train at Alfa Romeo for this year. He's been great.
Yeah, it's really, really nice to see Bottas doing so well in that Alpha because, I mean, we've talked about Valtteri being such a great driver and just not being able to prove himself in that Mercedes as being, such a great driver with Lewis in that seat. So it's so nice to see him fit into that Alfa Romeo so perfectly and outperforming what everybody thought they were going to be at this season.
Yeah, especially what we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And then you had the Alpines, who I know you've been a fan of the Alpines this year, Shaker, but Esteban Ocon in 6th, which was actually a really, really solid time, just ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso, who was in 9th. Despite the troubles from Haas once again on Friday with some of their reliability issues, Kevin Magnussen still put his Haas in P8, so it looks like Haas still has plenty of one-lap pace continuing on from Bahrain. And then you had Pierre Gasly, the 2 Alpha Tauris, rounding out the top 10 in 7th and in 10th. But if you guys can see just on the middle of your screen there, the gaps between all these drivers in the top 10, I mean, look, we've got only 0.6 of a second separating first from 10th. So it's really nice to see just how close they are, going into the top 5 especially. It's only, in the cases of the top 3, a few hundredths of a second separating each other. But this is what we kind of wanted to see with this new rules, right? I mean, field a lot closer, only a few tenths of a second separating them.
Yeah, it was exactly like you said. It's exactly what we wanted to see in this year, and to have all the drivers be close to each other and actually be able to have a race. So.
Yeah, I know, right? We'll see how the racing goes around this track in terms of following around the high speed sections, but. Should be a good qualifying session. I think it's going to be really, really exciting. Last year was very good as well. And, you can just kind of see here, this is what's really what I love about having the helmet cam this season is just being able to see the onboards around a crazy track like this. I mean, it's just really insane. Especially at night, right? Like all the... I wonder in terms of, I guess I could maybe ask you, you're the camera gear expert here, but... Do you think that the technology can kind of get a little better? Or, I mean, because when you look at the visuals, right, it seems like there's still some light that's bouncing off the lens and things like that. But do you think the technology is going to get to this crazy point where it's going to almost be like exactly what the driver sees?
Yeah, these cameras are going to be definitely put on the outside of these helmet cams, right above the visor, like kind of like right here. Because right now, like they're fighting two reflections. You're fighting the reflections of the helmet, and you're fighting the reflection of the actual camera lens, and then you got a bunch of glass around this circuit that has light reflecting off of it, so it's just light bouncing all over the place. Yeah, I mean, this is the first year we're seeing this. I know for a fact that they're going to adapt these cameras you know what? I see this being adapted into the camera in different parts. I see at least, 3 to 4 cameras throughout the camera, one obviously included in the helmet cam too, to provide us with that look, because it's unbelievable what they're able to do with these cameras. Yeah, I think what I understand I might be completely wrong, but it seems like these cameras are put right between where the visor is and the helmet is, and it's just and it's built into it.
Into the helmet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, cause there's no shaking of the actual camera itself. It's just the helmet moving.
That's right. Yeah. I think from what I remember last year, I believe it was one of the Alpines last year who was the first to kind of trial this new type of visor, helmet cam, whatever you want to call it. And if I remember seeing it correctly, that was on this specific helmet. There was the little lens that was sort of just right next to the driver's eye, that padding that's on just right beside the driver's eye. So I think that's where, but I don't know where they're, I think you might be right on that one, where they're mounting it. But I think one of the main concerns last year was in terms of the broadcast setup, right, of transmitting that visor cam. I think some of the teams were worried about whether that would interfere with, the data and all that stuff. But it looks like they've sorted that out because they've got almost 3-4 drivers now each weekend with these cameras.
Yeah, like this is me just getting into nerd like TV talk. But yeah, I mean, wireless signals is always going to be an issue, but I'm assuming, they're amazing technicians working these F1 events and they've all calculated the fact that they need to be on different signals. Because I know on film sets I run into wireless video and audio signals all the time. So they're great at their job. So I'm sure they figured that issue out. And I mean, they already have wireless audio going out from obviously come back and forth from the walkie-talkies that they have set up. Then they have wireless data being transferred from the car itself, and then you add wireless video in the cameras. That's three things in one vehicle, not to include probably the amount of probably close to 20 to 30 other wireless video and audio options that they have available in the track. So yeah, I mean, if they've worked around all of that, I don't think that should be an issue.
Yeah, like you said, I think they have plenty of money and personnel around there to figure it out. But yeah, just a cool little insight there, especially from you in terms of how they're doing it. I hope that F1 will eventually kind of maybe they have already put out some sort of video about how they mount these cameras and things like that. But yeah, it's very, very cool. And we've always wanted to see what a driver's point of view looks like, especially around a street circuit like this. So I'm sure once we get to Monaco and places like Baku, it's going to be even better. So yeah, very, very cool to see. So that's about it on the free practice 3. Only the other thing of note that I'll point out here is that Pierre Gasly had some sort of issue. I don't remember exactly what it was that forced him to push the car back here into the pit lane. This kind of happened near the end of FP3. So yeah, it was just a little bit of an issue for the AlphaTauri. Hopefully they'll get that figured out for qualifying, which is going to be starting in about 20 minutes time or so. So if you guys are watching, thank you. We appreciate the support. Also, say hello to us in the chat. And we'll be looking at the chat every now and again to get to your comments and questions and concerns as well. So taking a look at our poll that we put out there in the live chat, the majority of people are predicting Charles Leclerc to take pole position in Saudi Arabia at 54%, and another 31% believe it'll be Max Verstappen. So Shaker, where are you leaning your predictions for the pole sitter for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix?
If everything plays fairly, and everybody plays a clean and proper race, I see it going to Charles Leclerc. But, however, I do not see that happening.
Oh, okay.
This is Jeddah. We experienced this last year. I believe it's a really hard call, but I think Max is going to take it after that DNF last week. I think he's got a little fire in his ass going, and he wants this win.
You know what? I agree with you. Yeah, I'm going to take Max Verstappen as well for pole, and I just see the another vote came in, and so Charles Leclerc's numbers are now up to 57%, so people disagreeing with us, but I think it's going to be Max too. Remember his lap that wasn't here last year, right? Totally on the limit, would have been one of the greatest qualifying laps in F1 history, up there with Hamilton in Singapore in 2018, and then crashed right at the final corner. So I think that Verstappen is going to be looking to redeem himself, and like you said, especially after the DNF, he's going to really want to kind of right that wrong and get his championship off finally to the right start. So yeah, that poll is still open, I think, till the end of the show. So yeah, keep those votes coming in. Majority of people still think Charles Leclerc will take pole, but we'll see what happens. I wanted to see if I could find. Yeah, these are just some of the highlights here from FP3. You had Verstappen, a few drivers actually going wide at turn 22. Like you see, you can kind of see there's a little bit more runoff there now from this year with the barriers being moved back, but it's still pretty close intact. And yeah, no, I can't exactly find what I was looking for, but it's not an issue. Further down the field, I think me and Tyler did this last weekend, kind of predicting who we think is going to be out in Q1. So I think for me, the 5 drivers looking to be out in Q1, I'm probably going to go once again with both Aston Martins, who, just FYI, Nico Hülkenberg is still in the car for this weekend, if people haven't noticed. But I think I'm going to go with the 2 Aston Martins out in Q1. And I'm
What
going to
is
go with Latifi out as well, the Williams, and the two McLarens as well. I still think that the McLarens aren't going to be able to get themselves out of Q1 because they've looked okay this weekend, but still, I think that they're struggling quite a lot. So I think those are probably going to be my Q1 exits for that. So kind of along the same lines there, or do you think we'll get any surprises?
Um, I'm definitely going with yeah, it's going to be very close. I think I'm definitely going with the two Aston Martins dropping out. Um, you know what? It's sad to say, but I don't see Nicholas Latifi making it past Q3. Um, this is a tough one actually.
It's going to be close, that's for
It's
sure.
gonna be close for sure, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with the two McLarens at the for the bottom five to round it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just looking at their times in FP3, Daniel Ricciardo down in 16th place, Lando Norris down in 19th place. Now, obviously, different run programs and things, and they look better in free practice too. I think they were showing some good pace, but I think the issues that they have is something that's not going to be resolved within like one race time. They're going to need a few races to try and make some improvements, and then yeah, you look at the rest of there. You got Nico Hulkenberg, who was down in 18th in FP3. Latifi, like you said, who was down in 20th. And then even Alex Albon only in 17th place. So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. But obviously, different session during the daytime. Qualifying now will be under the lights. Will be 8 p.m. local time in Jeddah. Hopefully no missile strikes or anything like that, and we'll get qualifying underway.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean that was very unexpected, and yeah, I don't really know what to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll basically just round it off. I think Tyler had maybe the best line, which was like, I don't think missile strike near an F1 track was on anybody's 2022 bingo card for the F1 season.
Yeah, F1 race being canceled because of a missile strike was definitely not on my bingo card, and nor will it ever be. But I think we should start making bingo cards next year and definitely include that one.
You know what? That's a good idea, right?
I mean, it'd be a good way to do it because we just get like our viewers to write in, their, five bingo things, and we just try to like pick the ones that we think are best.
Yeah.
And then you got to make a bingo out of it throughout the season if you manage to hit it.
Yeah, and whoever hits it gets the big prize at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll write that down. We'll do it for next year. That would be fun. Just looking at a replay of some quick reactions from Fernando Alonso. I believe that is might be turn 22. Just kind of, oh no, sorry. I think it's the exit of turn 11 there. And you see some of the drivers that are riding the curb a little bit higher there, of course, kind of scraping the floor as well. But I think it's going to be harder to get away with this year with the new floor rules and everything like that. So, yeah, it's got to be careful there. So we're coming up on less than about 10 minutes to go until the start of qualifying. We should be getting the opening credits rolling in a few minutes' time. And just because it's still a little bit quiet here on the chat, and I think we've pretty much gotten through all of our predictions. Guys, if you are watching us right now, just drop your qualifying predictions in the chat below, and yeah, we're going to get to those. But wanted to maybe go back to a little bit of a broadcasting talk in relation to this new graphics package that F1 has debuted, of course, last weekend with the race. And Tyler and I talked about this during qualifying, and maybe you and I will as well. But what do you think of some of the new updates that they did to the graphics? Do you like them? You think that they visually look better? What are your kind of first reactions to it?
You know what? For my first reaction, it's funny you asked me that because as soon as I turned on the broadcast last week, my instant reaction was like, these graphics look really clean. Just because all the graphics sort of work with the sidebar there.
Of knowledge of these tires,
but just like all the logos and stuff they've cleaned out. There doesn't seem to be. It's more distinguishable from the background itself.
Yep.
In terms of logos and stuff. So I personally think the graphics are really well done this year. Seems like they tried to make everything one rather than have like two separate graphics like the previous years.
Yeah, my initial reaction was the same too, that I liked the new look of it and some of the updates that they did. I think some of them visually in certain scenarios are kind of harder to see than last year. But I think that they're probably going to make some updates as we go on. Like I said, there's a few things that I liked, and then there was a few things that, looking back at the 2021 package that they had, it kind of visually looked a little bit better. But
Hmm.
overall, I mean, they're always testing and trying out new things, right? As much data
Yeah.
and graphics that they can put on. But yeah, I think overall it's a little bit cleaner than it was last year.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, my favorite graphing addition this year has been the actual bull added to the Red Bull shirts. I know that's very
Okay.
small, but that's honestly been like the thing that's been most appealing to me this last week.
Honestly, I don't even know if I noticed it until you just
It's
mentioned
on.
it. But
Thing just came up right now, but it's like a dotted bull logo at the back of their shirts, which they didn't have before.
oh, okay, that's interesting.
It's like a splatter paint almost. Sorry, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, the one thing I don't like that much about the Red Bull livery is the fact that the actual Red Bull logo is now so small because they've
Yeah,
got the new sponsor on there.
yeah. No, I agree. But I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, just looking at some stats here. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari are the only teams with a 100% Q3 rate after the first race of the year. So, kind of a, I guess, meaningless stat in a lot of ways, but there you go if anybody was interested in that. Actually, the funny thing was with Valtteri getting into Q3 last week in Bahrain, I hope he can do it this week as well. It continued his streak from his Mercedes career in which he was, pretty much reaching Q3 in every single race of his
Oh
Mercedes
wow, good
career.
for him.
I think it's at like 100 and something. Like it's a pretty impressive streak actually.
Yeah, that's actually very impressive.
Because I think somebody in the comments was one of our videos or maybe somewhere else was saying that like it wasn't that big of a deal. He was driving a Mercedes, but when you look at it, Hamilton didn't do that streak, and there's always something that could happen, right? Like different conditions, mechanical issues. So not just
Yeah, cause,
driver consistency.
yeah, 'cause I don't think Lewis made pole in the first three races of the season last year. Might be wrong, definitely wrong, but I somehow seem to remember he didn't like start like actually start moving till like race five or something or race four.
Yeah, last season was a long time ago now, so
Yeah, it's hard to remember.
I know Max was on pole in Bahrain. I think Lewis might have
Yeah,
sneaked one out in like a Spain or something, but
yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't remember.
yeah, we'll see if he can keep the streak up. But I think this year will be a little bit more difficult. Although the Alfa Romeo looks good, but regardless, it's
Hmm.
definitely no Mercedes. So just doing an update on our poll, the numbers are fluctuating. So we're getting kind of live updates here. We got 19 votes on the poll. So still Charles Leclerc the favorite at 53% at pole position. Max Verstappen, 26% of you think will get pole. Interestingly enough, 0% think Carlos Sainz will get pole, but another 21% of people think that somebody else other than those three drivers will get pole. So I don't know who that other driver could be. Maybe Sergio Perez. Who do you think would be the favorites? Like, let's say outside of Verstappen and Leclerc, would it be a Perez? Maybe even a Mercedes driver, a Hamilton?
Signs, signs for
Sainz?
sure. Yeah. I again, it's one of those things that I said about Max. I think Signs is this, Signs is going to be moving this year, and after his last week's performance, where he knew he could have done better, and he knew he should have done better. Which I mean, it's hard to beat a P2, but in terms of timing, is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I definitely see it being Signs. Yeah.
I like that you have faith in Carlos Sainz as well. A lot of people are sleeping on this guy, I think.
Man, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because about when after Sainz's first successful season with the McLaren, I got into debate with my buddy about, do you see Sainz as a future world championship winner? And he's like, no, he's gonna win races, but he's definitely not gonna be a championship winner. And I'm like, not until he goes to Ferrari. Mike, and he's like, why do you say that? I'm like, he's gonna follow in Fernando Alonso's footsteps, and he's gonna do the same thing. And that's exactly I see him winning with Ferrari.
Yeah, and I hope, like, unlike Fernando, he'll eventually go
Yep.
all the way and then win not just one, but two.
Yep.
And like you mentioned with the fact that now being at Ferrari at this stage, where Ferrari looks like a legit championship, it's like the perfect timing, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
All right, so on or at least on my stream on this end, the opening credits are rolling. So we'll get into all the track info and graphics like that. And then, like I said, pit lane will be open in about 4 minutes or so for Q1.
You know, I really like the look of Jeddah Circuit. I like that it's a night race. I like that it's on the water. I
Mm.
like the reflecting lights look really good.
It really is a beautiful circuit. I mean, they did a nice job with it, that's for sure.
Mhm. By the way, can you hear my audio in the background?
No,
Okay, perfect.
I don't have my studio headphones on, so if maybe anybody in the chat, if you do hear some extra audio in the background that we don't hear, just let us know in the chat room, and then
Let us
we'll
know
take it out.
because F1 will shut us down.
Yeah. Oh, we got sorry, Antonio there. Didn't see your comment in the chat. He was saying Bottas is doing really good so far at Alpha. Yeah, absolutely. Better than I expected, not based on Valtteri's abilities, but just based on the fact that Alfa Romeo are far more competitive than what we what we thought that they were going to be. So I got the live timing in the middle of the screen, guys. That will be a little bit ahead of what you're probably going to see on your TV. We mention this every stream, but unfortunately, we obviously can't do live footage thanks to F1. But we managed with what we got. We're going to be delayed here and there, and it won't be perfect. So we're not going to try and obviously do commentary word for word with what we see on screen. But of course, we're not going to be able to sync everybody's stream up perfectly, but we're going to try our best. So I'm going to try and put in a little bit of FX sound in the background, liven it up like a real commentary booth here. Maybe I should just turn it off at now. They got some sort of music going on in the background. I don't want to get a copyright strike for that.
Yeah, we definitely do not want any of that.
And they'll get you too, even with the background music. I mean, I've seen people get strikes for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, every major sport is like that, right? So I know
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Premier League is now leaving the zone to go on some other app now after this year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, TSN needs to get their shit together. Like, unfortunately, TSN or Rogers or somebody, please just get us soccer back in Canada.
Yeah, that must. It's funny because ever since you've shown me that magic of IPTV, I don't even know like what the
Yeah.
how the packages or who's showing them here in Canada. So
Yeah. I mean, I like it doesn't affect. I just like having an app because there's times where I'm at work or I want to watch a little bit of it on my phone while I'm on lunch or something. It's the only reason I keep the app around.
yeah, fair enough. And I think it's a little bit more reliable than just a
Yeah.
stream that you'll find here or there.
Yeah.
All right, so should be getting set now to get underway for Q1. Gonna have a green light in the pit lane opening very soon. Appreciate everybody joining us for the stream here as well. Chris Cato alongside Shaker Barty for the next hour or so as we get down and ready for Saudi Arabian Grand Prix qualifying. Of course, Q1, Q2, and Q3. If you're new to Formula One, we do not have the Q2 tire rule anymore of last season, so drivers get a free tire choice for the race tomorrow, so they do not need to start the race, the top 10 at least, on the tire that they qualified on in Q2. So that's a nice change for this season. Offers us a little bit more variety in terms of strategies. We do have the middle range of compounds this weekend, so the C2, the C3, and the C4, which is the same as last year. Of course, the big difference being the 18-inch tires and 18-inch wheels, which doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have the same levels of tire wear and degradation. And we've already seen through free practice that I think we're going to see a two-stop at this race, which is good news. So the cars are heading out on track then. We've got the Williams
Got
and
Gordon Ramsay.
yeah. Yeah, I saw him in FP3.
Oh, sick.
Who's he's with Red Bull?
Yeah, he's with Red Bull, yeah.
Yeah, I think Max is probably going to go out just a little bit later on. And yeah, there you have it, Shaker, what you were talking about there, the beautiful Jeddah Corniche Circuit.
Looks so good, man.
Over 600 light posts there in there too.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, I work in lighting, so I'm always like, this stuff really fascinates me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And it's so, like, you see how the light's bouncing off of the water too. It's just,
Yeah, like the little RGB stuff, things they have going on to reflect off the water to bring it out more. Looks good. So I think they've done that with the lampposts on the actual street too, to like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't remember. I think it's not a permanent circuit. I believe that it is like, you know, a real street track in terms of where they build it for the race, but so we got about nearly 10 cars out on track. Ferrari are out early with the front runners Carlos Sainz. We got the Mercedes on track as well. Let me see if I can get the driver tracker up here. Give you guys an idea of where the cars are out on track. Everybody seems to be on the soft tires so far, which is obviously normal. I don't think... although yesterday in FP2, the medium was a little bit close to the soft, but I don't think any of the drivers...
Tires up to temperature.
Yeah, which is unusual.
You don't want the commentary. So the first driver to start a flying lap, we've got the Williams of Albon, and the two Mercedes are out in front of ahead of him, and then we got the Aston Martins as well, who are in a pair just coming out of turn 27, the final corner. So still some decent space out on track, but the two Red Bulls still in the garage for the moment, as well as the Alpines and the Alpha Tauris. And the two Ferraris as well are kind of in a pair heading down to turn 27 at the moment. But here we go. We should be getting the first flying laps now. And that's what we wanted to see. Helmet cam. So Norris is going to be the first to set a flying lap time here. Let me see if I can... I don't know if the timing is coming through here for you guys. In the middle of the screen. And I think drivers talked about this before in these night races in terms of the dashboard display as well, having to adjust the brightness of the dashboard. Because if it's too bright, I think it's just going to be far too distracting for the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Now we've got live timing coming through there in the middle of your screen, so you can stay updated as well. Kevin Magnussen, fastest lap so far. We've got... Actually, I can eat my words there because the two Mercedes are out on the medium compound tire. And they're just showing a replay here on my end of Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, a little bit... Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I was just like, whoa, that was a weird turn-in. It must be my tires probably are more warmed up, but holy shit. Looked like it turned a little late there.
Yeah, a lot of sliding at the back of that Mercedes. And also, if you guys can see from the shot here, you can notice how small that Mercedes rear wing is. So they've gone with a lot less downforce than they've gone with, obviously, in Bahrain. But even for Jeddah's standards, they've gone with a pretty low downforce package. So we got Verstappen, who's about to set a flying lap. He's got to get out of the way. And that turn 27, that final corner, is going to be really an issue for traffic.
Of effort on improving the car towards the end of the season.
No, we don't want their commentary. You always have to, in F1 TV, have to like select the FX setting. So the two Haas currently P1 and P2. That think Sergio Perez there is on a slow lap, so Carlos Sainz is pushing So the two Mercedes really so far are the only ones to go out on the medium tire. I don't know if that's because of the allocation of what they've used up in practice, or if they're just trying to save an extra set for Q3. But I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to get maybe Q2 for sure, but Hamilton's definitely going to need a better lap.
I think it'll always be weird to see Hamilton's name below the top 10 position.
It is, right?
Just not used to it.
Well, even like
Seeing Russell in the top 5 is also a little bit weird.
Oh, it definitely is. Even last week with Hamilton in like 5th, it was just weird. So Carlos Sainz currently on personal best lap, but this is his first lap. His teammate is going quicker. Yeah. Purple middle sector for Charles Leclerc, so I think he will be going quicker here. Oh, we got a yellow flag in turn 2. Oh, red flag.
Latifi. I'm ahead of you.
Yeah.
I was like, red flag. It's Latifi. He just went off on...
Wow, which corner is that?
I think it's... I'm trying to figure it out.
We got team radio.
I crashed, guys.
Okay.
Sorry.
You okay? Are you okay, Nikki?
Yeah, I don't know how the rear just...
Well, if
Let
I
go
jinx
there.
it, Latifi with my prediction, I feel bad.
I think we both did, though.
Oh, yeah, man. There's no grip on these tires at the moment.
Yeah, well, this is perfect angle for this replay. Ooh.
Mm.
Oh, man. Tell you what, though, he was lucky.
He was.
Yeah, looks like it was... Yeah, the rear just steps out on him. It was kind of like Mick Schumacher's crash here last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird the way he went into the wall like that.
Wasn't gravel on the track an issue last year? Or is that, am I thinking of a different circuit?
I think different circuit, but the sand was definitely an issue, yeah.
Yeah, I know something on the track was an issue last year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, like we were talking about earlier, it's right next to the sea, so you get a lot of changing wind directions. It blows a bunch of stuff out on track.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, one of the issues there of a street circuit is we're going to get quite a few, well, hopefully not quite a few, at least that's it, but red flag periods are definitely an issue when we get into streets tracks like this. So maybe we'll go switch into our Twitter feed here and see what they're saying. So this session is stopped for the moment, so of course the time stops at 11 minutes there. But of course the drivers who kind of really got put out by that was Max Verstappen, for example, who was just about setting his first lap time, and his teammate as well, Sergio Perez, the two Alpha Tauris, and the Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas, as well as Ocon and Alonso. So not able to set times, not a big deal, but it means that they're going to need to get out quickly once this red flag is over and get a banker lap in, because we could get another red flag here as the session resumes.
It would not surprise me.
Yeah, me neither. But those ones are always, kind of a little bit strange or a little bit scary for the driver, because I didn't see that Latifi necessarily made a mistake, like, if he hits a wall or something like that. Just looked like he lost the rear. Okay, so Latifi crashed there at turn 13, so I believe that's just after... I believe that's just after the banked corner there. So, yeah, very interesting place where he lost it. Let's see if that changed any of the chat predictions here for pole. We still got Charles Leclerc. 52% of you think Charles Leclerc is going to take pole. 24% for Max Verstappen, and another 20% for other. We got only 4% have faith in Carlos Sainz, but it was more than when we started the stream. So yeah, more people getting on the Carlos Sainz prediction train. If you are just joining us, thank you. This is the Backmarkers F1 Show Saudi Arabian Grand Prix live stream watch along. And we are currently in a red flag session. We're just about almost 10 minutes into Q1. Nicholas Latifi has crashed at after turn 13. And, of course, he is out of Q1. Luckily for him, though, he did not do massive damage to the car. So hopefully it won't be a gearbox replacement or anything like that. But, again, he's going to be starting in 20th anyways. So I don't think it's going to be much of a problem, even if he does have to replace something. And so the drivers that really got put out by that red flag are Valtteri Bottas, who hasn't set a time, the two Red Bulls, who were just doing their flying laps, but were unable to set a time. So that's why it's important that you get a good lap in early here, because as we mentioned, street circuits, always the chance of red flags. I don't know if you remember this, but was it last year at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying in Baku? We had, I think, 3 red flags in qualifying. It was almost like a 2-hour session.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was Azerbaijan.
Yeah. And there was this debate last year as well, too. I think it was after that race especially, about whether drivers who caused the red flag should be penalized or something like that, or kind of change how they do it. But that's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and I think our conclusion was that they're being punished enough by having all the engineers having to redo their car basically, and having to make the actual race if they can, and starting from the pit lane. I think that's enough of a penalty for them.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was really kind of a specific case with Charles Leclerc in Monaco when he crashed and then still got pole because he set his lap first. But I think I would agree with you, and I think Tyler said the same thing as well, that in Leclerc's case, he didn't even start the race, right?
Yep.
So that's a huge penalty, and I also think that his first lap was still good for pole. So, yeah, it's just very tricky of how you would police that and then where you would put him on the grid, what kind of penalty, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, we're getting back to it. Got another minute to go.
Nice. Shout out to the marshals in Jeddah. It was a quick cleanup.
Yeah, it was a really quick cleanup. I was expecting another 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. You've got the Red Bull almost at the front of the queue. But so far, top in the timesheets, we got the two Hasses, Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher, P1 and P2. So put the data back into the middle of the screen. We should have that timing coming through as well. I would assume that the Mercedes are going to be coming out again, this time on the soft tire.
Oh, I mean, Hamilton for sure is coming back out.
Yeah.
maybe not Russell. We'll see, I guess. Well, I guess it's dependent on Red Bull's timings here.
I think Russell will as well, because when you look at it, you've got...
yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I just did the math real quick. Tsunoda, Gasly, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez, Alonso. Yeah, he's got to come back out.
Even the two Ferraris, apologies there, I didn't notice that they haven't put a lap in. Mm-hmm.
I think Sainz was the first person up on the screen in the qualifying, so I thought they had already gone.
Yeah, I guess I think they were really close, almost at the final turn, and then the red flag just happened to come out.
Yeah, I think Charles actually stopped right after the final turn, or he slowed down. Yeah, I think that's what happened. Charles or Sainz, one of them. I think that's what I saw.
That's gotta suck. Imagine if that was your Q3 lap.
Man, it looked like a good lap too. I won't lie, from Sainz at least.
Yeah, and Verstappen is getting quite the move on here in his out lap.
Yeah, he wants the distance. Who's ahead of him?
I think it was the Alfa Romeo. I think it's Zhou Guanyu.
Oh.
I believe he passed Bottas, and then I think Zhou might be ahead of him. But it looks like Verstappen's got a clear track in front, or it might actually be the Aston Martin. It looked like a little bit of green ahead of him.
At one point, it looked like they actually had Verstappen's name over the green, and I think they just fixed it.
Oh, we'll get just pump in some FX sound here.
Shoot.
So this needs to be a good lap here from Verstappen just to get himself out of Q1. Nothing special.
This looks like a really good lap from Verstappen.
Yeah, he really likes this track, and I think the Red
Like,
Bull.
just watching his racing lines here, he hasn't missed one.
Yep, 3/10 up on Magnussen's first sector time there, which is to be expected.
Holy fuck, man!
Fast, eh?
It's fast and it's just smooth, man. Like there's nothing.
It's
He
one
hasn't
of,
missed anything.
yeah. It's one of those tracks where, I mean, this might sound silly to say, but all the corners are connected.
Yeah.
One
yeah,
corner sets right into the next, and if you just do a little bit of a mistake in one corner, it's going to really affect the next 2-3
Well,
corners.
that's just it, right? You stay in that perfect racing line. You're moving your steering wheel 2 to 3 inches at a time for those turns.
Mm.
Oh yeah, look at that! Yeah, look at that lap. 129.3.
Very nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Red Bull looks good. I think it's more in its element here at this high-speed circuit.
Yeah.
And with these new cars, of course, being very heavy, I think Alfa Romeo is actually the only team that's not overweight this season, is actually on weight. But one of the things is that these cars are terrible in slow-speed corners, but they're super nice in these high-speed corners.
Yeah, my comment actually was going to be, or slash a question was, I always thought Ferrari. Oh my God, Leclerc, good for you. And Sainz. It's funny. I'm like, my comment was going to be, I thought Ferrari was faster around the corners, so they might beat the time. And then as I was about to say it, they didn't. So
Yeah. No, they look really good here.
yeah,
I'm trying to see, yeah, so Sector 3.
I think I'm trying to think of a circuit that's going to suit Red Bull more.
I mean, I would have thought, well, interesting, Hamilton only P12 with that lap. George Russell going up into 4th.
I thought it would have been this one too, but as soon as I looked at the high-speed corners, I thought Ferrari would have had more of a chance. Because you know what, Chris? I think both the cars are really close, and I think for the advantage that Ferrari has is in the corners, and I think Red Bull just has maybe a couple of more miles on the straights. Not much.
Yeah. And I think that in Bahrain, from just some of the rumors I was hearing, is that Ferrari was even kind of running their engine a little bit more conservatively, just because their package is so strong. But I was just kind of, my thinking was, Ferrari, like you said there, just a radio here for a second.
Yuki,
No,
there is
no.
something,
Hopefully it's not the issue from
PO related. So
Red
we need
Bull
to
last
check it
time.
out.
Man. I don't think it's a coincidence, right? Seems like a similar issue might be the fuel pump.
It has to be the power failure, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's a shame. But Sonoda doesn't even have a time set yet, so.
And why would you be? They probably loaded up the gas low.
Well, yeah, and that was, remember we had that discussion on the podcast, right, that with this new E10 fuel, it's been an issue in preseason testing where once the tank is low, you know, there's an issue with getting that extra, just a little bit of fuel into the engine, and it just essentially shuts off.
Yeah, so they with that red flag coming in, they probably loaded up with low fuel to get lower weight, and then with the red flag coming in and running a little bit longer, probably weren't expecting it.
Yeah. We'll, in between Q1 and Q2, I'll reload the Twitter page, see what kind of updates we can get. But yeah, if you see something, guys, just drop it in the chat. Let us know what the specific issue is. But kind of taking a look at the order here, we got 5 minutes at least for me on my feed here, but less than 5 minutes to go here in Q1. And looking good so far. Lance Stroll in P8.
If Russell, oh my God, Lando Norris. I was gonna say if Russell managed to split up that the Red Bulls, it's going to be huge for Ferrari to keep the lead.
Good lap
'Cause
there from Norris.
Verstappen kind of needs Perez right behind him to fight off the other people, so he can just have a one-on-two or a one-on-one with the Ferraris.
Yep, Bottas moved himself into 5th. His teammate Zhou Guanyu just wrapping up his lap here, but let's see, 422. I don't think they're going to have time to come in, put on a fresh new set of boots. They're probably going to be fueled for the rest of this session, I would imagine, depending on where the run plans were. But just seeing an FIA race control message here, pit lane incident involving Kevin Magnussen and Ricciardo for unsafe release. So interesting. I don't know. Did you see that incident or that replay? I don't remember seeing
I
it.
didn't either. I had no idea. They both put in times, though.
Yeah, it was probably coming out after the red flag, I would imagine.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay, Verstappen splitting the... Oh, Sainz is ahead. It's not even Leclerc. Holy shit.
Yeah. Not by much.
Not by
1/100ths of a
much,
second.
but very impressive.
And that's Lewis Hamilton, who just...
He's in the elimination zone, man.
I was waiting for it to reload.
What
I
is
thought it was a
going
glitch.
on?
Well, Hamilton has been complaining of a lot of porpoising or bouncing during free practice, all the way into even free practice 3. So I wonder if they made any setup changes to try and compromise for that, and it's just really not working for him.
Yeah, I don't think Yuki's going to be able to put in a time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would agree. As long as it gets that issue resolved for tomorrow's race, but...
Alpine not looking strong on this track either.
Yeah.
That's not going through, man.
Oh,
We'll take
jeez.
another single call. We can go again.
So Hamilton will go for a cool lap here, but I mean, we can't say he's going to be out in Q1. I mean, come on.
I've learned to never count Hamilton out of anything.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think, heading into this race weekend, Mercedes were feeling a little more upbeat than they were ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but
Are we at risk right now? AFM, we are at risk.
yeah, so Hamilton just asking there if he was at risk. He definitely is, because currently he is out of Q1, but like you said, Shaker, I don't think that we can count the 7-time world champion out.
Yeah.
But we're coming up to the final runs here, guys, and yeah, we see the cars backing up, trying to create a gap here out of turn 27.
Here we go.
Interesting, you see that graphic there that he's losing 9/10 on the straights to Max Verstappen in first.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a little bit of a loss of engine performance, but it might also just be set up as well to try and combat the bouncing issues that they've had all season.
Valtteri back up to 5th, behind Russell.
Man, can Bottas out-qualify Hamilton?
Love to see it.
So we get a look at his first sector
Oh,
time.
shit! That drone crashed!
Oh, did it really?
Yeah!
Oh,
The
yeah, there it
camera
is.
shook down and they went off of it right away.
I hope it's the drone and not the helicopter.
It's definitely the drone. or like the camera operator on the helicopter just like hit something. and
Yeah.
it-
So Hamilton is improving, setting personal
God.
bests.
Albon's doing better than him right now.
Yeah, slower in the middle sector from Hamilton there. He's slightly quicker than the cutoff of a 130.4 from Stroll, but Stroll is also setting personal bests. He's in 15th, of course, is the cutoff time. Alpha Tauri
There we
gets out of
go.
his way.
Just makes it.
Wow.
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh Oh my God, Stroll.
Wow. So is that it? Is there any other? Yeah, no, that's it.
That's it.
Lewis, wow.
That woman is shook.
That's
She can't believe it.
Look at the other one too. Like the guy on the right there was definitely like a Red Bull or Ferrari fan. He was pretty happy.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
Well, there's another addition we can make to our bingo card there.
Hamilton not making it past Q3 after doing 3 flying laps.
Wow.
Or Q1.
That's pretty crazy. And his teammate too, George Russell, was 4th place.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Toto struggle, though. I will admit that.
Yeah.
Let's see what thoughts are over the radio.
Goodness, unfortunately, that is us at P16.
So sorry, guys.
Wow. 0.6 of a gap to his teammate George Russell, but I mean, didn't miss Q1 by much, only 8/100ths of a second, but Lance Stroll squeaks in there, 15th place. We had both Aston Martins out in Q1, but one of them at least makes it out of there. So that's a very, very interesting Q1 for sure. I'll tell you what, that's going to be a tough race for him considering it's a difficult track to overtake.
Is this new? The little P at the next of to the next of the thing to let them know if they're pit or on the track?
Yeah, I don't think I remember seeing that last year. Or maybe it was a different type of text, I don't know.
Yeah. Looks good though.
So there's a real first shock of the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can open up the Twitterverse.
Here, while you do that, I'm gonna run and grab a coffee.
All right, no problem.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a break now in between Q1 and Q2. So yeah, guys, get your refreshments, your comfort breaks, and of course, if you are good time in the chat room, drop some comments or questions down below. We got plenty of time now to get to them before we get into Q2. So just going to get Twitter up on here for you guys. So that's really the big story then out of Q1, Lewis Hamilton not making it into Q2. I'd be actually interested to know, maybe we'll find it here on the feed, of when was the last time Lewis Hamilton missed Q2. When was the last time he was eliminated out of Q1? I can't think of it off the top of my head, probably just because it's been such a long time. So if you do know it, let us know in the chat, or maybe find it quicker before, but yeah, it's definitely much of a surprise. He will start the race in 16th place, of course, bar any grid penalties or anything like that. So a little bit off on our predictions. We did think that both Williams were going to be out in Q1, which is what happened, of course. Alex Albon in 17th. Nicholas Latifi, who crashed at the exit of turn 13 earlier in the session, which caused the red flag. He is out in Q1. Nico Hülkenberg, of course, who's filling in for Sebastian Vettel for the second week in a row, is out. And Yuki Tsunoda will start his race tomorrow last on the grid because he had some sort of a power unit issue that stopped him from getting out after the red flag. Of course, he didn't set a time early enough. And not sure what the issue is. Shaker and I were speculating that it might be related to what the issues the two Red Bulls and Pierre Gasly had in Bahrain, but we're not exactly sure. So we'll see if we can get that update for you guys. And also just seeing a replay here being shown on F1 TV. They noted the incident between Ricciardo and Magnussen for an unsafe release out of the pit lane. But it looks like a Williams was actually involved there as well of Alex Albon. So we'll see if there's any penalties or reprimands or anything like that. But yeah, that's a pretty big surprise there. I did not think that Mercedes, or in particular Lewis Hamilton, would be struggling so much. His teammate did a pretty stellar job, 4th place there in Q1. So seems to be much happier with the balance of the car. If you guys didn't see any of the free practice sessions, Hamilton was complaining of a lot of bouncing, and you notice that they're running a pretty skinny rear wing on the Lewis's car, so I don't know if maybe they tried to do some sort of a setup compromise and it just didn't end up working. He was losing about 9/10 of a second on the straights to Max Verstappen's Red Bull. So that was coming the news out of Bahrain, was that Mercedes are losing quite a significant amount in terms of straight line speed, whether that's because the power unit has taken a slight step back to the Honda, or I guess the Red Bull powertrain and the Ferrari, or if it was because of just trying to put more downforce on the car. Obviously, we don't know. So few more minutes to go until we get set here for Q2. The two Haas drivers, of course, in Q2 once again, so that's terrific news for them, continuing on their good form from Bahrain. Okay, so here's the update on the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda. He's been sidelined with a cooling system issue, and yeah, of course, wasn't able to set a time on the board. So if it's a cooling system problem, I don't think that it's necessarily related to what the issue that they had last weekend, but certainly a concern heading into the race tomorrow. It will be a 50-lap Grand Prix race, but of course, it can be a very long and intense race if last season was anything to go by. And Alfa Romeo again, both cars into Q2. Bottas continuing his solid form from Bahrain, a P5 in the first session. And his teammate Zhou Guanyu with a solid P10 as well. And I got to tell you guys, I know we had a comment in the chat saying he was impressed with Bottas at Alpha this season, but and I completely agree with that. He's been very, very good and up to speed very quickly. I also think that the rookie, Zhou Guanyu, has been very impressive. I know he's kind of been referred to as a pay driver heading into this season, of course, with the sponsorship money that he brings. The fact that he's the first F1 Chinese driver was also a big factor as to why he got the Alpha seat. So, you know, as usual with some of these different types of pay drivers, you always have the criticisms coming from the fans. Does he deserve the seat? Should somebody else have gotten it? But I got to tell you, early doors, he's been doing a really, really good job for them. And I've been impressed with his first race in Bahrain. I think he's a very intelligent driver, raced very smart, raced very clean as well, and I think managed his race very, very well. So I'm curious to see how he gets on here, not just in Q2, but in the race tomorrow. So I think Alpha might have a really kind of solid driver partnership there, and if the car is as good as what we're seeing so far, you know, they could be in that battle for fifth in the Constructors, maybe even fourth, depending on if McLaren can recover some of these deficits. So yeah, looking forward to how they get on. So Q2 underway now. Let me get the timing here back for you guys in the middle of the screen. So there we go. So, excuse me. Q2, we're looking to eliminate the next 5 drivers as we get down to the top 10 of the Q3 shootout. And if you guys are just joining us, or if you're maybe new to F1, or maybe you've been watching F1 for a long time, but you didn't hear this last weekend, the drivers who qualify in Q2 and make it into Q3 do not have to start the race on the same tire. So drivers do get a free tire choice from this season heading into the race, which, as we talked about before, I think gives an excellent variety of strategies, and I think it also just opens up the race a little bit more than in the last few years. So it's good to see. So we got the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, who will be the first driver, or excuse me, Mick Schumacher will be the first driver to set a flying lap. Magnussen right behind his teammate as well. And I was curious, I wasn't listening to the commentary too much, but and I didn't hear much of the drivers as well. I'm just curious to know as to, last year we obviously saw drivers having to create massive gaps because of the dirty air problem. So I'm wondering if this season, if those gaps are a little bit smaller, if they could maybe go a little bit closer to their teammates or cars in front on these qualifying laps. So I'm curious how much it affects, especially at a high-speed circuit such as Jeddah. So just to kind of give you an idea of where my stream is at, anyways, at my home base here, I'm at 12 minutes 15 seconds, just passed right now. And again, it's not always going to line up perfectly, but that's no problem. So we're trying to get a benchmark here as to what the times will be. Just an update on tires. Looks like all drivers are on the soft. I did see it is showing George Russell out on the medium tire. Now he did that in his first run in Q1 as well. He went out on the medium and then afterwards had to, of course, set a time on the soft after the red flag. But crossing the line, then we have, of course, Charles Leclerc setting the benchmark there. Pretty decent lap though from Kevin Magnussen. Mick Schumacher though going quicker on this first run as well. And tell you what, the McLarens certainly look a little bit more improved than what they did in Bahrain. I think Shaker and I both predicted them to be out. Excuse me, in Q1, but they're going pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, McLaren's says, I mean, next to Alfa Romeo, they've really impressed me this race.
So we got some plenty Ferrari fans in Jeddah. Man, that's a good lap from George Russell. P2 on the medium tire. So we've got the two Red Bulls. Haven't set a time yet, but they are currently on, or are they on an out lap? Yes, they are currently on a flying lap. And then we've got the two Alphas who haven't set a time as well as Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, the lone Aston Martin in this session. As Sergio Perez jumps up into P2, just 4/100ths of a second off of Charles Leclerc's time in pole, or well, I guess it's not provisional pole, it's only Q2 at this point, so we are only looking to get into the top 10 in this case. But Perez there going quicker in the middle and final sector compared to Charles Leclerc's time. So let's see where the Red Bull of Verstappen is going to slot in here. So it looks like he aborted the first lap because he's still down in 12th. But it's showing that he did. Let's see. Did he set a time or not? As Alonso goes up into P3. Yeah, so Sainz not able to best his teammate on that lap. Not much of a gap though, 10th and a half or so. But here we are waiting for Verstappen, who's on a flyer. And oh man, he's been, yeah. he was doing that even in FP3, just pushing the limits there of 22. Yeah, I can't wait for his Q3 lap, man. That's going to be a good one, hopefully.
And I've always considered Verstappen a faster racer than a qualifier, so I'm very excited for this race now.
I think that's fair to say as well because, you know, qualifying has kind of always been not a strength like you said, right? But in the last few years, especially with the improvements Red Bull have made to their car, he's been getting much better and better. Mm-hmm. Just going to reload the timing because it's showing me old data. But yeah, look at that. Close there on the exit of 22 and 23. So interesting. Excuse me. Oh, got a radio.
I blocked me completely.
Nothing important.
For Ocon it is. Who was that? Was it Ricardo or Norris?
I think
Oh, man.
it would have had to be Ricardo.
So coming up shortly on 7 minutes and 20 seconds left of this Q2 session.
Yeah.
Bottas, man.
Stewards are investigating.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know who's yeah, Ricardo.
Ricardo, yeah.
Worst case scenario might be a grid penalty, but maybe they'll just go for the reprimand.
Oh, Alonso, P5, yes. I didn't even notice that earlier.
That was a mega lap. And I'll tell you what, though, I think that where Ocon is sitting right now in 15th, if his lap, which obviously it was being screwed up by Ricardo there, yeah, that might be a 3-place grid drop.
Yeah.
So George Russell currently out on track. I think, yeah, he's showing, he did set his first lap on a medium tire, but he's going to be going out on the softs now. I believe that's because of the allocation that they've used up, and they're just trying to look for the best track conditions.
Sainz is going back out, right? Are they done? Yeah. He's going back out.
You know, he probably...
I just saw him taking off the
yeah,
plane.
oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, yeah. What's the issue for Pierre Gasly here? Oh, just maybe the floor being scraped?
Or, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how low they're running them, even with these new kind of ground effect rules. But yeah, they're sharding off a little. I think, what is that, duct tape or aluminum?
Yeah, it has to be some, like, yeah, some sort of something, yeah. I'm so, like, I'm just looking forward to Portimao. I just want to see how these cars are going to be in Portimao.
Is that on the calendar this year?
Is it not?
I don't know, honestly. There's 23 races.
Man! Oh, if it's not, that's so disappointing.
I hope it is. I like that track a lot.
I love that track, but it's also one of, like, they had to, I'll wait.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You saw it, eh?
Just caught up. Apologies there, folks, for the delay, but wow.
That's a rough one.
That's a big one.
That is huge.
I'm telling you, man, this circuit, it's... I like the spectacle of it, and I appreciate... Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, my God.
Hope he's okay.
Is it Mick or is
It's
it...
Mick, yeah, it's Mick.
Fuck, I hope he's okay. You know, if it was either one of them, I hope they're okay, but shit.
Whew. Yeah, it's still no...
Yeah, that one's rough.
I'm trying to see where... I think he might have lost it where Latifi lost it. Out of 13? Do you... if it's that same corner, do you remember in... I believe it was qualifying last year when Carlos Sainz spun, but he caught it? That's what
Yes,
I
yes, I do remember that. I was
yeah.
very impressed by that move.
But, oh, man. I don't like the fact that they're not showing him, you know? That's... Been around racing long enough to know what something like that could possibly mean.
Maybe they haven't heard from him on the radio yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It was because when you were saying it, I was just a little bit behind, and then I saw it cut right to when he smacked the wall.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to say anything. I want you to react to it.
Jeez, man. And you know, we kind of joked about this circuit, right? And
Yeah.
crazy and all this type of stuff, but it's, in all seriousness, it's a big concern, a circuit like this, a track like this. And I don't know. There's a balance, right, of pushing it on the limit, and we want to see these cars in fast corners. We want to see these drivers pushing. But maybe this is too much. Maybe this track is just an extreme.
Yeah. It's you know, it's got those really tight corners and fast-paced corners, but it's also smaller, you know, in terms of, sorry, the width of it is it's not that wide. So, you know, you make that one mistake and it's left or right wall you're going to go into. It's a tough one for sure. There's no sand or gravel or anything else to really roll onto.
So they are showing a wide shot. It looks like the FIA medical car is there, but still no radio messages and no visuals. Yeah, you see he's lost it at turn 12. Yeah, so medical car is currently with him. No further updates at this point yet, of course. I think this one's going to take quite a while here.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, priority being Mick and his safety. Just really hope that that he's okay, and it's just they're being, you know, careful with him.
Yeah, and like you said, they haven't really cut to it. There hasn't really been any radio talk or anything like that we've heard so far. So really hope.
Yeah, just an update here. Sorry to cut you off there, Shaker. It looks like Charles was asking on his radio, is Mick moving right? And his engineer told him he is fine.
Okay.
So that's
good.
Unconfirmed, but yeah, hope Ferrari is right. See, just update in the chat so far. We got Tom who says, Allez Charles, go Ferrari. So some Ferrari fans in the building, but yeah, you know, difficult for the Ferrari family as well. Of course, Mick is a academy driver there, but fuck, man. I mean, this is not good at all. If you're just joining us, guys, on the stream, we are at another red flag in Q2 here. Mick Schumacher had quite a huge crash at the exit of turn 12. He really smacked the wall hard, kind of went in sideways, and it happened about, what was that, about 4 or 5 minutes ago now, and we haven't heard any team radio on the official broadcast. We haven't seen Mick yet. We've only gotten some wide shots. The medical cars are there attending to him. We do have this update in the middle of your screen here from Charles's race engineer, Leclerc's race engineer, who says that he is moving and that he is fine. But we want to stress it's unconfirmed at this point, but maybe the engineers on the pit wall do have some more information than we do.
Starting to clean up the circuit from what it looks like. Oh, there's a lot of small pieces off that car.
Oh, man. Yeah, they're going to have to probably check the wall there as well. Okay, and we have latest update here. Sky Germany says that Mick is talking to the doctor. So by all accounts, by the looks of it, of course, you know, worst case scenario seems to be avoided, but we are going to wait for some updates on any injuries or concussion or anything like that. See if we can hear what Max is saying here.
You know, after the last 2 years of F1, I have to get used to seeing everyone without their masks again.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing now.
Just trying to listen into this conversation here.
Yeah, well, sector one, I think I lost a lot of time too. So that really represented that sector.
So Max just explaining where he's losing time, but I thought they were maybe discussing the crash here. Is kind of difficult to make out there in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, definitely not the way I would have liked this qualifying session to go. That's for sure.
I mean, I'm glad to hear, you know, it's still unconfirmed at the moment. I'm glad to hear we're getting some good news about Mick. At least he's, you know, speaking and seems like he's all right at the moment.
Yeah, and good timing there, Shaker, with that one, because we just have a tweet from Haas just now, really, a minute ago. They say that we've heard that Mick is conscious, out of the car, and is currently on his way to the medical center. So,
Good.
thank
Good.
God.
I mean, that still doesn't say if he's hurt or not. It just says he's conscious. So,
Yep.
you know, he might still have some injuries where, can't confirm that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for some updates on that for sure. But for a few minutes there, it kind of gave me like Grosjean vibes
Yeah.
from 2020 when it wasn't looking so good. But
Yeah.
we'll wait to see what happens and whether he'll be able to race tomorrow or not. But I don't know if we're gonna eventually get some replays. But it was a pretty big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Should probably just cut this. It's always they got the stupid music in the background. Oh, well, last year we had some big accidents here, and this is the second year in a row Schumacher had another big accident. Of course, it was in turn 22 last year. It seems like they've got the track decently cleaned up there, but it was turn 22 last year and lost the rear end, but maybe we kind of blamed that on the tricky Haas that they were driving that season, but we had Latifi spinning at the same area. Luckily, he avoided it, but this was a really, really big one. Big crashes in the race last year, so a lot of questions are going to be asked about this circuit. Let us know in the chat. Do you guys think the Jeddah circuit is too dangerous? Do you think that it should be removed? What can we change about it to make it safer? I mean, it's extreme.
Yeah, it's a tough one to say because I mean, like we were just commenting on Q1 how it looks like such a beautiful track. It's a very fast pace. It's got those fast paced corners, but when we see stuff like this in a race, we always want to question it, But it's an interesting track. I think it's only the second year that they raced on it, so there's still improvements to be made.
Yeah, and there you see a mixed car, the removal process beginning underway, so they still got to clear the car, and you can see the ambulance. I believe Mick is in there and heading to the medical center, so as we stated, guys, we are leaving that update in the middle of the screen just for a few minutes until we receive any extra news, but it looks like the monocoque, the crash structure, did its job very, very well, but I wonder if we're going to get a replay here.
I definitely think the Halo is going to go down as one of the greatest inventions in F1.
Yes, yes.
It's like,
yeah. And I think I was one of the ones that said I didn't like it at first and they shouldn't do it, but yeah, I disagree with that now. Man, look at sorry to cut you off, but it almost looked like the rear end is falling out. Yeah, it's gone.
It is. It is.
Holy shit.
It absolutely is, Chris.
What is with Haas's and just separating in crashes? Wow.
Wasn't there a crash? Maybe my mic cut out. Wasn't there a crash either like last year or the year before that where I forget? Maybe I'm wrong or just read this somewhere that like these cars are designed to brake at that point, right? Like that is if it's kind of like the hollow point.
Well, it was Grosjean's, remember, when he went through like the wall? But I mean, I guess because there's so much force that was in there. But I would imagine that that's how it's kind of designed to do. Yeah.
If anything does happen, that's kind of like the breaking point. I always that maybe like I said, I might be wrong. Maybe I just like misread this somewhere, but I thought I had read that at some point.
Yeah. Oh, that was definitely a rough one for sure. Now, depending on what time here, Shaker, I might just run to the washroom here.
Yep.
Because this is going to be much longer than I expected. And so, yeah, I will leave you guys here in the hands of Shaker just for a few minutes, and hopefully Q2 will resume in a few minutes.
I'll try my best.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've been left alone on the podcast. So.
I trust you. Talk about some camera stuff again.
Yeah.
I know you'll go on forever. If you guys have
any questions, let me know. I'm really good at answering questions. I'm looking at chat. Okay, so it did end up breaking. I guess they ended up breaking it off just to make it easier to transport. Yeah, so we're just getting it cleared out here, getting the road all swept up too. Just really heartbreaking for Haas to have that 2 years in a row on the same circuit with the same driver too. So yeah, I think that's Mick going into medical center, obviously. I don't think they've announced when the race is going to start back up or if it will start back up, but looks like Sergio Perez is getting the data that he wants, or if he's playing the issues. I guess, yeah, I think the FI is discussing if they're going to start back up or not, or when they are. Hmm. So I'm assuming Max and Perez have gotten out of their cars compared to every other drivers because they're probably possibly not going to go again in Q2 at least. Maybe wait till Q3.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I think they're gonna start back up soon there, Chris. But
Okay.
I was just saying, I feel like Perez and Max have gotten out of the cars because they're probably not gonna go again this qualifying round.
Yeah, I would assume they're safe.
Yeah.
I mean, who do we have? Let's see.
Oh, we got Lewis coming in right now.
So let's see if we got any updates here on Twitter. Yeah, that's going to be, well, there's going to be a lot of fallout from this, of course, but big question in terms of what's going to happen, tomorrow for Haas, but, main priority being Mick Schumacher's health right now. And
Hmm.
hopefully it's, no injuries. But with a crash like that, I don't know, man. At this point, I would almost say it'd be tough to see if he races tomorrow.
Yeah, like I really hope it is positive news because like everything that I've been seeing is like he's unconscious or he's conscious.
Hmm.
No one has said if what the damage is really.
Yeah. I think the big thing being kind of similar to what Max's crash was at Silverstone last year was, risking a concussion risk, of course, But when you have a big, I mean, obviously we're not speaking from any experience, but you have a big crash like that, you kind of need a little bit of time to recover and if you don't have a concussion or anything like that, but still just to get yourself back into the swing of things and be confident again.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I think I was watching an interview with Max and his dad with David Coulthard, and they were speaking about that a little bit, actually, because Jos Verstappen was worried about Max after that Silverstone crash in terms of like, okay, when he gets back in the car, is he going to be, the same? Is he going to be a little hesitant? And then he was kind of commenting how when he went out for FP1 at the next race, he was, on it right away, so he knew, okay, he's going to be okay. But every driver is different. Every person is different. So,
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Romain Grosjean didn't come back, did he, after his incident?
no, yeah. Of
Oh,
course, he
right.
had some pretty
He had some
bad
pretty
injuries.
serious injuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he took his time. He ended up obviously going away from F1. Now he's in IndyCar, but he took his time. He ended up coming back, but yeah, I mean, we speak from no experience of being in. I mean, I've been in a car crash, but not like an F1
Oh
car.
no.
It's just like it's totally different. But yes, it's completely different for everyone how they want to come back and how they handle it mentally and physically. So
Yeah. Yeah, and these drivers are pretty special with that because they'll have big crashes and they'll be in the car the next day or the next week, and it's back to doing the same thing. But yeah, this was certainly a big one. So of course, fingers crossed, Mick Schumacher is okay and there's no serious injuries. And whether he races tomorrow at this point, I don't even think is the important point. So let's just get that news first. And if that's confirmed or what else is confirmed, then we'll know what the status is tomorrow. But of course, that's a big rebuild for Haas going into the race tomorrow. This is the second race of a doubleheader, so I don't know how they're doing in terms of spare parts. That's going to need a chassis change. That's going to need an engine and a new gearbox. So that's a massive, massive job. But they do have
pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it fell off, right? I mean, it's
It did fall off. It was, yeah, at one point they were just like showing the upper half of it. I'm like, oh, like that thing is being held together by literally just one piece of wire. And then they like had a wider shot. And I'm like, oh no, that car is not on there anymore.
yeah.
That is half a car or 2/3 of a car.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing when they cut to that one shot.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, that thing is gone. It's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Shaker, here we go. I just pulled up a tweet that the viewers at home should see in the middle of the screen. So this is an update from Mark Hughes, who's I believe he's there actually trackside, but he says, quote, for the regs this year, regulations, the rear of the car must break away from the chassis at a lower load to reduce accelerations upon the driver.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's another one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Schumacher's car shows this. Maybe that wouldn't have happened under the old regulations, but it's talked about how bad it was. Actually, it's good and regulated specifically for this year. So you nailed it. With that one.
No, I think it's fantastic. It's if there's a breaking point or whatever they're calling it. Again, no engineer in any way. But whatever it is, it's smart. If a car gets into like a sidewall crash like that, rather than if the middle point being where it all breaks off, if there's an actual like hollow point or breaking point, again, no idea what it's called.
I like breaking point.
Yeah, it makes more sense and it's more safe, especially if the halo, is kind of surrounding the driver already. To have it more be in the rear of it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, no,
I think.
I think it's good to know that, right?
Yeah.
That is actually specifically designed that way, and if that's what's going to improve the safety, of course, to the team, it's a cost and everything, but I mean, you can't put a price on safety.
No, absolutely not. And like I commented earlier, the Halo is going to go down as one of the best, inventions of engineering for F1. I guarantee.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So yeah, no further updates at this point on Mick Schumacher's condition. Like I said, we can't really give you an estimation on when the session will restart. They are I've got some street sweepers out on the track, and they're trying to clean the circuit of what was a lot of debris, but it looks pretty good at this point. But, they probably have to clean up some of the oil and fuel spills that were there, and then hopefully we can get the session rolling. I'm still... did they show a replay while I was away on a little break?
Oh.
Okay.
You.
Because I'm still just trying to figure out where exactly he lost it and where he ended up. I know it's turn 12 into going into 13, but
I feel like they're waiting for an update about Mick before they show any replays.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Again, we do. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, so but we'll see though. We might get one like soon.
Yeah, and just to reiterate again, if you're just hopped onto our stream, Mick Schumacher is conscious. He was speaking to the doctors and is currently being taken to the medical center or is already at the medical center. But that is the latest update. I wonder if they're going to need to repair the wall, but I don't think that they're doing anything with it.
Oh yeah, I wonder if they're even gonna bother.
Depends how hard the hit was and how much damage it was. I think those ones might be Tech Pro barriers there, but we've seen, I think last year they had to do the repairs during the race, which is why it ended up getting red flagged. But yeah, it's definitely touch and go with that one. But we are less than, or at the point of the red flag, we were just under 5 minutes left in this Q2 session, and what has been a really long qualifying of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I don't even know how long we've been live for, Shaker, but it feels like quite a few hours now. We had a red flag in Q1, we got a red flag in Q2, and to be honest with you, it's not out of the realm of possibility we'll get one in Q3.
Yeah. I mean, we're not. Yeah, we're just like a little bit over halfway in Q2, and no timing yet up to when we're going back on track, and there's still 5 minutes left. So, I mean, they might make the little break shorter in between, maybe, just to kind of speed things up, because obviously, they're on a time as well. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, what time? Let's see, what are we at here? So just
2:10,
past 2 o'clock?
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in Saudi Arabia, that's, I think it's 9. They're past 9 p.m. local time there.
Wow.
It's going to be a late one, that's for sure. But anyways, while we'll wait, we'll give you guys an update on what the status of running was before the Schumacher accident. You had Charles Leclerc, P1 at the moment, only 4/100ths of a second ahead of Sergio Perez in the Red Bull, who did a very good first lap. He's quicker than his teammate Verstappen, but by really only a few thousandths of a second. And then you had Carlos Sainz in 4th. Fernando Alonso had a really, really good lap to put himself into 5th ahead of Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. George Russell only 7th, but he did do his first lap on the medium tire, as we do see the safety car is lapping the circuit at the moment. So that should be a positive sign. We'll get going shortly. And maybe a little bit of a surprise in qualifying so far, Lando Norris in the McLaren, currently sitting in 8th. So pretty good lap from him, of course, after the struggles in Bahrain. And then unfortunately, Mick Schumacher had a good lap, putting himself in 9th, provisional Q3 when he crashed. But of course, he won't be able to unfortunately improve on his time. And then Pierre Gasly rounding at the top 10. So the drivers currently at risk, you have Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo, Daniel Ricciardo, Mick's Haas teammate Kevin Magnussen in 13th, and then Stroll and Ocon in 15th. But just before the crash, we were talking, Shaker, about Esteban Ocon's lap was ruined by Daniel Ricciardo going slowly through the middle sector there. So that's all to play out possibly after in the steward's room.
Yeah, I don't think they've made a decision yet, or they obviously haven't announced it. So.
Yeah, I think after the red flag, they've got a lot more on their mind at the moment.
That's just the FIA coming out on the track to actually see if the track is good?
Yeah, I think so, or maybe a barrier inspection. I think, he's looking at the track surface now, see how slippery it is.
Yeah, see how slippery it is with the stuff that they put down from what it looks like.
Okay, so we even got a further update here on Mick Schumacher's condition, and it is good news, guys. Canal Plus, Frank Montagnier talked to the FIA doctor and said that Mick feels okay. He's on his feet, and he's currently getting a checkup.
Yeah. Also, they have an update on the screen right now. Apparently, the 2022 car has been designed to withstand 15% more energy in a crash. Apparently, they learned from 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix from the crash of Romain Grosjean.
Nice, that's good.
But apparently, AlphaTauri did not follow that last week because their car went up in flames. Are we sure?
Maybe it's 15% more to, take the crash, but not the fire damage.
Yeah, not the fire damage.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a little bit more positive news there, guys. We'll leave that up in the middle of the screen for a few more minutes. Drivers are starting to get back into their cars. Doesn't seem like Mick has any serious injuries. Again, don't know his status for tomorrow's race, but like I said, more important right now that he is okay and seems like he's escaped that one for now. Nice to see Antonio Giovinazzi back in the paddock. So it looks like they want to sweep the circuit a little bit more. And of course, we do have new race directors this year. Excuse me for not knowing their names or remembering them. Of course, we're still getting to know them. But of course, Michael Massey being dropped after last season. So we do have a new management there at the front of FIA race direction.
It's like the previous person from Ferrari or something, right?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Let us know in the chat, maybe.
I'm looking it up right now. Niels Wittig
Sounds familiar, yeah.
with Eduardo Freitas?
Yeah, it's like a tag team. Like it's not just one
Yeah.
guy now.
I'm gonna.
While you're looking that up, I'll just quickly shout out everybody who's sticking with us here on the stream. I know it's a little bit difficult here with the lot of delays, and I know we all want to get to the action, but this is the case of racing in Jeddah.
Yeah, so he used to be Eduardo Freitas used to be an engineer, like Charlie Whiting, and then so in the previous years, the FIA promoted Freitas to the FIA GT1 World Championship before he became the race director for World Endurance Championship in 2012.
Okay.
And he also acts as race director in the European Le Mans Series and Asian Le Mans Series.
Okay, yeah, he's got plenty of experience. Do you know what he
Yeah.
looks like? Because I wonder if that's him that was out on the track.
I believe if I take a look at him again, I believe that was Niels Wittig, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, he looks like a Niels.
Yes, I believe it was a Niels Wittig because Niels Wittig is German and Eduardo Freitas is Portuguese. And I think that guy did not look Portuguese. I don't know. I got a quick glimpse of him. in
Yeah.
video.
I mean, as far as I remember what Portuguese kind of people look like, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you're right.
And then Niels Wittig is a former race director of the DTM series, having stepped down from the role at the end of 2021. And he was previously named race director for the for F2 and F3. And while also supporting the F1 race director at certain events. So he does have a lot of experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it will also help that there's two of them now, so there's maybe going to be more cooperation. And I even see we saw in Bahrain too. I mean, they were very quick to distinguish track limits.
Yes, so this person on screen right now is Niels Wittig.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, the guy on the phone, right?
Yeah, the guy on the phone right now.
Yeah, I wonder. They might. I don't think they're ordering a pizza. I think they're calling maybe for the
Oh.
street sweeper to be back again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I really like to see this year. I'm honestly, you know, they're taking their time with it, making sure everything is safe. They're not trying to rush it all, and try to make for, you know, an exciting, you know, race overall. But rather than to making safety a huge precaution this time around, and making sure everybody's good to go, it's not a bad thing.
No, it definitely isn't. And I mean, especially what we've seen from the first two sessions. I mean,
Yeah.
the crashes, like if it's something with the track, I mean, obviously the track has an inherent issue in itself and that it's pretty dangerous, but you know, you don't want a slippery track surface when you're going through a corner at 200 miles per hour.
Yeah. And I think we spoke of this in last season is, you know, we want to see this consistency throughout the season. So if they're going to do this, you know, right at the beginning of the season, I'd like to see this carried out throughout the rest of the 2022 season as well, not just the one time because there was a one bad crash, you know, just keep it consistent.
Yeah, and we saw that with the first race in Bahrain. You know, they said right away that, you know, the track limits are going to be the white lines, and that's it. You know, it wasn't like last season where in practice it's this, and then in the race it was something else. So I completely agree with you that it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be a rule set from the beginning of the season, and then everybody knows how to conduct themselves going forward.
Yep. You know, everybody should be on the same page, and it shouldn't change from race to race like we experienced last year.
Yeah, exactly. Just good.
And how good do these medical and safety cars look?
Yeah, right.